Hello, Chisago Lakes community. My name is Dean Jennison. I'm the superintendent of schools here at Chisago Lakes. I want to share with you today some important information related to our school's budget. For those of you that have gotten to know me a little bit in my short time here, this is my second year as superintendent, you'll know that I tend to tell things in the way of a story. And so today I wanted to share with you a little bit, just an analogy or a connection to our budget situation. And for those that got to know me, you know that I come from a large family. I have 11 brothers and sisters. And as I think about growing up in that large family, one of the things that was not talked about much in our house was money and budget. Our parents provided everything that we thought we ever could have wanted and needed, and it never really felt like we needed anything more. However, going to college was my first experience at understanding my family's finances. And in that, filling out the financial aid paperwork, going to college was the first time I got a good look at what mom and dad did or didn't make in terms of income. And it was a real eye-opener for me to realize how little money our parents actually made. And I guess one thing as I think about that is that, again, I didn't really feel like we had anything that we really needed. Everything that we needed was provided by our parents. And I think as I look at my life now in terms of how I run my own family's budget and our finances, I think about financial advisors' advice that we should always keep money in reserve for the unforeseen expenses that come up in our household. If the furnace goes out or the car breaks or something needs to be fixed in those regards, it's good to have some money in reserve to deal with those things that come up. In my family growing up with 11 brothers and sisters, I can guarantee we didn't have a reserve account of any sorts like that. My parents put all that money basically back into circulation so that we could take care of those 12 children. And so I think about our situation here in Chisago Lakes, and I would liken it much to that. We have an excellent school system. We have an excellent teaching staff, support staff. We have excellent support from our community, and we have, as a community, created a school system here that has been nothing but quality, and in the area has quite a reputation for the quality education that we provide. I think by and large we've done a great job with our budget in the previous years to my coming here, and as I like to tell people when I think about the budget that I inherited as a superintendent, that budget shows that Chisago Lakes invests in the classroom. They invest in the system and the programming that is needed to support our children. And I think that's something we can be very proud of. I would say that Chisago Lakes has kind of run a real thin line between having money in a savings account and spending money on the expenses that are needed to provide that quality programming. And I think that's something that some might analyze or might look at and say, well, you know, you always should have some money in reserve. And for many years we did. Chisago Lakes hasn't made any level of budget reductions for at least 6 years now. And we have come to the point, and that's what I'd like to talk to you about today, that we are running into a situation where our expenses, or what we're spending, is outpacing what we're bringing in for revenue from state and federal and local sources. And so the bottom line message here is that we are running short in terms of paying our bills. Currently, looking at financial information, starting with an audit that was done in January, which is a way that our books are checked, or our finances are checked by an outside source. We are recognizing that our current spending is outpacing what we receive for income by 1.6 million. And that's a large number. That's something that Chisago Lakes hasn't, again, had to deal with in previous years, but combined factors such as where do we get money from, that comes from the state and federal and local levy sources. The money that we are getting in is not meeting our needs in terms of the money that we need to expend to provide that quality education. And so my message here today is related to that we need to do some things to balance our budget and put ourselves in a better financial position. And so as I said, we're currently on pace to overspend $1.6 million by the end of this school year. Additionally, as I mentioned, when it comes to your own family budget, you like to have a little money in reserve in case something comes up that you weren't predicting. In your home, it might be the furnace breaking or the car breaking, you need to fix that. At school, it would be similar things. We have maintenance costs and things that would come up for unforeseen things, but it also would be if we add an additional teacher, we add additional support staff beyond what we had budgeted for to start the year, that's going to change our budget situation. We're going to have to meet the needs of those students, and so we have to add staff kind of after the fact in order to help meet that need. And so we currently do not have a reserve account. We currently don't have a savings account that we can draw from to meet those needs. The school board has set a goal that we should have a savings account, and for this school year, the goal would be to set aside $400,000 into an account that would help us to deal with the unexpected expenses that come up. And so when you couple the $1.6 million that we are short in terms of funds to pay our bills and the $400,000 that the school board would like to see put in our savings account, that comes to the number of $2 million. And so currently, the school board has asked the administration and myself to devise a plan that would help us to come up with $2 million in savings in terms of how much we're spending. So reducing our spending and also putting a little bit of money aside for those unforeseen expenses that come up. And so that's our task right now. And that's certainly a big challenge for us as a school district. And as I think about, kind of how did this happen, or why would we be overexpending? So what does that $1.6 million, what are some of the things that make up that $1.6 million? And first and foremost, it really is related to school funding. One thing that can be recognized is that school funding, the funds that we receive in order to run the school, have not kept up with the needs that schools have to provide a quality education to students. So that first and foremost would be one piece. And of course, we have a governor and we have representatives that are meeting at the Capitol, and we'll continue to decide how much funding schools get. But in terms of our overspending in this current budget, it really comes down to transportation costs that have increased. And it's not because of fuel, because fuel prices have been good, but it's in terms of the number of buses and vans that we need to transport students with. So that has risen in terms of its cost. Also, there is state mandated programming that we must provide, and so there are needs that students have that we are mandated by state and federal law to provide, and we do that and do that very well, but those costs are only reimbursed to the school district at 49 cents for every dollar spent. And so that equation continues to be a challenge to us because, again, only getting 49 cents in the dollar for those mandated expenses means we have to find other ways of making up for those expenses, much drawn from our savings account in a sense. Also, activity costs continue to increase. We have programming that we provide in the area of extracurricular, fine arts, and clubs and activities for students who like to use their talents in those ways. However, we do not charge fees to the level that would cause a break even for those costs, I guess would be the best way of saying it. So we are proud of our student athletes and our fine arts students and everything that we accomplish for our clubs and activities. However, those things do cost money as well. And so that's an increasing area of cost for us that needs to be analyzed and contained. Also, we have increased staffing costs. About 76% of our operating budget is in the area of personnel or in people. And so we do have increased staffing costs in terms of wage and salary and that type of thing. And so we continue to, continue to manage that, but as we add staff to meet the needs of our students, those costs definitely go up as well. And then finally, one of the things when we looked at our audit or when our finances were looked at, there was not an accurate accounting to what our expenses would be for this year. And so recognizing that now, we've made some immediate adjustments and we'll continue to make adjustments over the next 18 months to account for the $2 million that we need to trim in expenses and a little bit of money to put away in our savings account to account for those unforeseen expenses. So kind of what happens next. Currently, the administration, under my direction and the direction of our business manager, Doug Hassler, we are working on a plan to reduce those expenses and to put a little money away in our savings account. We will be looking at everything. There's not any bit of our program that we should not look at to consider ways that we can save money. As decisions are made regarding that, there will certainly be impacts on staff, on programming, and those are things that we will continue to communicate out to not only internally, our staff and the school staff, but also out to the community as well. And so one of the things we are asking as we go through this process, we are certainly welcome public and community staff input, and we will continue to field that through board meetings, but also through email or phone calls. And we will provide information for you in order to be able to contact myself as superintendent or any school board member to answer questions you might have. We also have some key dates that we would like to share with you. We have a special school board meeting on February 28th where we will provide an opportunity for staff and community to hear about what the specific reductions will be. And at that point, there will be some real clear information as to how this will impact our overall staff and school programming. On March 21st, we will make kind of final decisions related to this, and that's a regular school board meeting on Thursday, March 21st. That's where the reductions will be accepted or confirmed by the board. And prior to that conversation, we are going to be open for public concerns, input, and comment related to those specific reductions. But on March 21st will be kind of some final decisions to be made in order to prepare us for the ending of this school year, of which we are hoping to save a little bit of money during this school year. But the primary reduction amount, the amount of savings that we could experience would be for next school year. So we really look at this as an 18-month process from now until the end of this school year, but then also leading into the entire school year next year, as really the timing of which we will need to make these reductions and really prepare for that $2 million target to be reached would be by the end of June of 2020. And so as I share these things with you, there's a lot of information there. It was certainly my goal not to use all kinds of educational terms and acronyms and jargon that we use in education. I think, again, as I look at it from my own personal standpoint in my household, it's a situation where we need to trim our spending. We need to find ways of saving money, but we also need to look for ways of increasing revenue. And our primary source of revenue does come from the state government, from the federal government, from our local taxpayers. And we are more than appreciative of everything that has been provided for us, because at Chisago Lakes, again, we feel like we have a quality program, and we're very thankful for that. But in order to maintain that quality programming, something has to change, and we will certainly do our part as a school district to do the changes that we can make and the things that we can control. But we're also looking for support in terms of not only input and questions from the community, but also support in working with our local and state and federal government to provide the resources that schools need to do a great job with our students. So thank you for your time today. We appreciate, again, the support from our community. Please reach out with questions that you may have, and have a great day.
Good.